all the people that you're seeing in this room voted against their own interests and human rights. There are massive protests in Utah right now, and workers that are working in the government are just not having the bill that was recently passed. So labor unions that serve teachers, firefighters, police, and other public employees in Utah will no longer be able to negotiate on behalf of their workers under a bill that received final legislative approval on Thursday. And on today's video, we take you through some of the reactions and perspectives that people think about this development, and you also just leave your own thoughts down in the comment section and let us know what you think. Is this a thing that is going to help the economy of the land of the free, or what is likely to happen? Let's begin now, and I'll catch you on the flip side where we get to break it all down.
They're claiming that we made a deal with them. We never made a deal with them on neutrality until we talked to our membership. Our membership with AFT, AFSCME, CWA, and Teamsters was overwhelmingly no. We don't want a neutral stance. So we listened to you. The reason why this is circled and the reason why we are here right now is because all of you stood in solidarity and we're together. They have never seen a presence like this before. This has not been an easy fight. If they had the votes on number one, they would have ran it by now. They don't. And if they run it today, we will let them know, not acceptable. We still have chances that we could do this. Still call your senators. Text into them right now. You let them know that you are out here waiting. You want them to vote no on number one. And if you don't feel good about those substitutes, you tell them you don't even like those. This is you. We're a democracy. We listen to our people. We don't give in to pressure.
I can't understand how any union member voted for Trump outside of voting for racism. Notice in that video, you don't see a black face nowhere in that crowd. Black people and minorities are being locked out of the blue collar jobs. I believe it's going to be our downfall. A lot of people don't want to do blue collar jobs. We need to motivate kids more to get into the trades, but the trades are full of racism, sexism, nepotism, and favoritism. We need to eliminate it in our unions. It's disgusting. It's time. You guys voted against your own money. You should have voted for your families. You voted for racism. Look around and find out.
Okay, y'all, that's in Utah, and that's public service workers protesting to the GOP legislation because unions, okay? Here's the thing, I don't feel bad for them at all, because you guys were all warned about this, and then even after the election, you were all happy, daddy's back, and we kept saying to you guys, I guess you're gonna have to learn the hard way. I guess you're just going to have to learn the hard way. It's not our lesson to learn. It's y'all's lessons to learn. And so here you guys are learning your lesson the hard way. And there is zero fucking sympathy for you because all of us who saw it coming screamed from the rooftops about Project 2025. And you all told us we were full of shit. Looks like we were not full of shit. And you guys are now in the shit.
Let the union busting games begin. This bill prohibits public employers from recognizing labor organizations for negotiating. This prohibits people from entering collective bargaining contracts. Basically, Utah's House of Representatives just shit all over their teachers, their firefighters, their police officers, their EMTs, probably like CPS workers, and all sorts of employees. Unfortunately, this is only the beginning. It'll soon be private sector, and it'll be many, many more states. It's all part of P2025, just like we said. Not to mention that 45 and Muscanazi here, they hate unions. They hate them.
So in the latest example of ground and find out, Utah firefighters watch as the Republican representatives take away their rights to collectively bargain. And it's not just for them, it's for police officers and teachers too. As of Thursday afternoon, HB 267, as written, would eliminate collective bargaining for public sector employees, including teachers, firefighters, and police officers. While it would not prevent public employees from joining or forming unions. It would prohibit government employers from recognizing a labor organization as a bargaining unit. And if they are allowed to not collectively bargain, then your union means absolutely nothing. This is once again getting what you vote for. Like, it's 2025. If you haven't figured out that the Republicans are against the working class and against unions and will do anything they can to destroy those things, you're a fucking idiot. If you're a union member voting Republican, knowing, you have to know, they're trying to destroy your union and your job. It's like they think, oh, it'll never happen to me. Yes, it will. They don't give about you. Vote your wage.
I said after the election that we were going to see more and more of these cases. I didn't know it would happen this soon. But there's an element of people who voted for Donald Trump or supported Donald Trump or whose organization was in a position to endorse either candidate and then didn't. And now they're finding out. It is the f around and find out. That's what's happening right now. And firefighters and different public service job people in that sector are really finding out. I don't know what it is about firefighters. I certainly know what it is about cops who want to support somebody like Donald Trump because he wants to give them total immunity for hunting down innocent, unarmed citizens. But firefighters, that's real public service. That they're not granted power to harm citizens. They don't carry weapons. They don't feel like they're authority figures to run roughshod over constitutional rights. They are first responders. They oftentimes show themselves to be heroes. Rarely, that's the case with cops, in my view. But firefighters are different. So it bothers me and it makes me quizzical, to say the least, as to why they would withhold their endorsement as a union, as a group, as a collective from Kamala Harris, refusing to endorse this election. They endorsed Joe Biden in 2020, but why not Kamala Harris? Curious. You would think they would be smart enough, intellectual enough to noodle through what the outcome would be of supporting Donald Trump and a party that doesn't want to fund anything other than tax cuts for the super wealthy. Here's a headline from October 3rd from the New York Times. Firefighters Union declines to endorse a presidential candidate. The International Association of Firefighters was one of the first unions to endorse Joe Biden in 2020. In 2024, its board voted not to endorse at all. They took the tack of the Washington Post and the LA Times. We're just not going to make an endorsement, which is a tacit endorsement, is what it is. Smash cut to December 21st. New York Post, fire unions livid as funding.
The Utah state legislature just passed a bill getting rid of public unions. There is a lot to unpack here, but it just passed in the House, so it hasn't passed in the Senate. It hasn't been signed into law. But also, what you should know is Utah is like a political test tube for conservatives, because it's so conservative, like pretty much supermajority are conservative representatives, that the Republicans take the most far-right things and laws they can do and try and get them passed in states like Utah, where they can get passed, just to see how it goes and how it can gain traction. And so this one is really interesting. But also what you should know is in Utah, because it's more conservative, you can still have unions, but they aren't as strong as they are in some other states. And there can be a lot of problems here in Utah. There's not a lot of good training in unions, and there's a lot of issues with personal representatives in unions and getting the representation that you need. And I've sued quite a few unions here in Utah with the lack of representation and leaving my clients high and dry. But so they're trying to abolish it completely, and there's including teacher unions, and there's a lot of teachers, because the union is so bad, that they just opt out of the union and they get insurance, and because of that, then they don't have to deal with a union representative. They just have insurance and they can get an attorney like me to represent them, which can be a lot better, especially with how crazy it is understanding public employment law and your rights, your constitutional rights as a public employee. So that's one thing that the bill does, is it still requires them to get professional liability insurance. So as a practical matter, I can see how it can be more beneficial, because having an attorney could be way better than what a lot of people are dealing with the current union as is. But also it's a First Amendment issue, because you're essentially abolishing their right to assemble, the free speech, bargaining rights. So there's issues to unpack there as well. I don't think the law as it stands will be able to pass, but I think that also something has to be done with the unions. Again, I've been suing them all the time. It needs to be fixed. I don't know if abolishing them is the way to go, but there needs to be, they need to beef it up. They need better training with their unions. Representatives need to understand so many people get terminated or have issues where they don't have representation present. So there's a lot of Weingartner rights that get stepped on. So
I feel bad for are the people in the unions who did not vote for these legislators. Ohio in 2011, we had Ohio Senate Bill 5. And this basically would have stripped all public workers of their right to unionize and eliminated all the unions. They had petitions go out, they signed them, it went for a vote in November, and that shit failed. Like it did not pass at all. Yeah, it was they called that at 8:30, 9 o'clock, and our polls closed at 7:30. But it blows my mind. And this was introduced under Republican legislature in Ohio. And I do not feel bad for union workers who are registered Republicans and vote Republicans when time and time again, the Republican Party has showed they do not give a fuck about you. So all you folks in unions in Utah that are Democrats or at least use your brain and are like, hey, these people aren't good. Let me not vote for them. Let me vote for the Democrats. I feel bad for you. Anybody else, you're around and now you're finding out. It's hard to feel bad for you.
Alright, so those are some of the videos that we have for you. And right now, I just want to go through the benefits of having these unions and how teachers and other government employees were able to benefit from that. So these unions used to help them in job security, where they would ensure due process protections and preventing arbitrary dismissals, as well as providing a fair review process for any action that was involved in the lives of these teachers. And it also helped them with collective bargaining. You heard that point a lot. So these unions would negotiate for better wages, benefits, and working conditions, giving teachers a stronger voice in discussions when it came to any administrative work with these schools. So these just go on and on. When we talk about advocacy, teachers also used to benefit. They could express their opinions on educational policies without fear. Right now, a teacher would say something without these unions and they might just get expelled or dismissed. So these unions would also help professional development, where they would often offer training and development opportunities to help teachers advance their skills as well as careers. So there's a lot of things that were involved. So the unions would negotiate wages, benefits, if a teacher wants to work in a certain specific conducive environment for them, they would speak on their behalf. And this would also provide legal representation, right? Where a teacher requires support during disciplinary actions, they would take legal action toward the challenges and ensure due process and protect the rights of these teachers, as well as supporting them during any sort of disciplinary actions. They would ensure that if there's any investigation needed into alleged misconduct, they would conduct that fairly. So there is a lot of benefits that these unions provided. Now, firefighters also benefited in those specificities that I have explained to you. So there's a lot of chaos that has resulted because of this. A union is something that I guess a lot of these government employees benefited. Now they don't have anybody to mediate for them. So what is going to happen? Now let's just go through some of the comments that people had when it came to the U.S. Union members who protested at the Utah State House, and some of the comments that people had there. I see a lot of laughing emojis. Some people are saying, keep voting MAGA, you get what you deserve. Some people are saying, that's a lot of white people. Did they vote against their own interests? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is just savage. So there are a lot of people that voted against their own interests in this group. Don't vote Republicans. They have always been anti-union and are against workers' rights. Vote blue all the way. Serve America. The other one says there are 24 Republicans and 6 Dems in their Senate, so they overwhelmingly voted for this. Laughing emojis all the way. The other one says, that cackle, I cackled knowing most of these humans voted against themselves. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. So a lot of people are just saying that they kind of like deserve what they're getting, but it's kind of like just so, sad, because a lot of people that are seated in these rooms have got families to take care of and people to feed. So this is going to affect them. If their wages go down, they're going to have nobody to represent them and talk on their behalf. But to those that really deserve this, like those people that really voted for it, plus they've got this palm color entitlement, such as the cops. I think some of them, or most of them, kind of deserve what's happening. I'm just saying because of how they treat black people in minorities, especially, karma has a way of, just revealing itself to you that it's there and it's present. Talk about FAFO, right? So what do you think about everything that's going on right here in the scene? Do you think this is something that is I don't know, worth just showing solidarity for them? Do they deserve compassion? What do you think? Leave your own thoughts down in the comments. And with that being said, we have come to the end of our discussion concerning the Utah protests. So these protests were held because the unions that would talk for firefighters, teachers, as well as policemen and other public workers are no more. This legislative law has been passed down and now it's in effect. So we're not going to see those unions anymore. So talk about the Trump train delivering as promised. Now, one thing that I just don't get is people are getting so disappointed when he is delivering as he promised. Why don't you get about all this? This is what you voted for. This is what was in his 2025 vision. But what did you miss? And to everybody that doesn't deserve the implications of these bills and the Trump train doing Trump stuff, I am praying for you. And my brothers and sisters out there, I know that you got this and everything is gonna be well. I'll see you in the next one. Like, share, and also subscribe.